Hello and welcome, and thanks for joining us in our San Francisco State Criminal Justice Department Career Fair for 2021. I'm your host, Jim Dudley. I'm a lecturer here at San Francisco State in Criminal Justice Studies. And today you're going to hear from a host of departments and agencies in San Francisco that would give you an opportunity at a look inside the departments working for San Francisco, careers with San Francisco city governments and nonprofits, and also to have opportunities at internships and volunteer opportunities. So today we're going to be hearing from a host of departments, including the San Francisco MTA, the Municipal Transportation Authority, the San Francisco PUC, the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. You'll hear from the San Francisco Sheriff, from our own San Francisco State Campus Police, and also the Stand for Families Free of Violence, a nonprofit that works towards being an advocate and helping women and families in San Francisco. And I would like to start out by introducing representatives from our own San Francisco State program, Project Rebound. But first, I'd like to acknowledge Gina James, our administrator in the Criminal Justice Department, who did an outstanding job bringing everyone together for these opportunities for you today. So our first speaker will be Dr. Doris Fent and Director George Turner from Project Rebound. And hope you learn something, hope you take something with you and get an opportunity at gaining more insight in what they have to offer.
Moment. All right, there you go. All right. Can everyone see the screen?
Okay.
So
Let me just move it to slideshow. Hold on. And let's see. How is that?
Beautiful.
I actually don't see it, but okay. I can control my screen. Okay. For the sake of time, I guess you're ready, Doris, or can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay,
Go ahead, George.
Project Rebound is a college support program that provides support for folks that are re-entering society and interested in earning an undergraduate or graduate degree. It was founded in 1967 by Dr. John Irvin, whom himself had been incarcerated for an extensive period of time, released from prison, and advocated to attend college and received a PhD, and also became a tenure professor at San Francisco State University. In that spirit of Dr. Irvin's struggle to get permission for formerly incarcerated folks to attend college, we continue in that realm and support of that particular philosophy, and to support students to gain access to higher education. Okay. Meet the team. For the sake of time, I will not go through the list of everybody during the question and answer period. We'll definitely provide an opportunity to share with you more in depth about the different folks that work with us, but I have to focus on Jason Bell. He's our director. He's a person that has been pushing this program for many years. And through his hard work and commitment and vision, we're now have Project Rebound opportunities on 14 California state universities. We can definitely talk about that more at some time as well, but we want to provide a certain amount of attention to Jason for his hard work and his efforts in expanding our program.
Yeah, and now that you all know what Project Rebound does and who the team is, I also want you to get an overview over who our students are. So as you can see on that slide, there's lots of data and demographics, but what I would like to highlight is the majority of our students are male and students of color. So the university often refers to students of color as historically underserved students, but what we're really talking about is a majority of African American and Latino students that are part of our program. Majority of our students are lower income transfer students, but they're also older students. So oftentimes when we think about first generation students, we think about very young students, but our students are quite older, because oftentimes they find their way to us after long periods of incarceration. But overall, our students are very high performing, so they usually have a high GPA. They major in all categories and majors on campus. So we have engineering majors, nursing majors, whatever you can think of. So there's not one specific area that our students are majoring in. So what are some services that we're offering? So again, the program as a philosophy really strongly believes that higher education is an alternative to incarceration. And many of our staff members are living examples and role models what successful integration looks like in a college setting. But nobody can go this alone. Just any service that you ever accessed as a student is important for our students as well. So we provide personal, academic, and career counseling. A big part of our work is really student advocacy to help students navigate the landscape of higher education. And we spend a lot of time assisting students with technology, right? Especially during the pandemic, you all know, it was a huge shift for everybody to move online, but it was specifically difficult for our students because many of them, after long-term incarceration, were at a point where they were just learning their smartphones. So they didn't yet know how to work iLearn or a laptop or a computer. Another part that we spent time and energy on, and that's dear to our heart, is really advocacy work and training, often on campus. We work with other systems of higher education. We provide different assistance, counseling, oftentimes also tuition assistance. We do provide academic advising for incarcerated students as well. That goes all via correspondence. And we have an array of workshops and tutoring programs for our students. George, I'm not sure if you can see the slide, but it's, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what we provide, we have opportunities for interns and folks interested in working in our department. This is a list, if you can see the slide, this is a list of some of the opportunities, but here's a better description of what those positions entail. For the sake of time, I'll just focus on maybe one, like you may be interested in event planning and you come to us and you interview for a position with us as an internship position for event planning, working on the mural project that we have annually that some of you students, if you've been inside the building, you opportunity to see the beautiful mural that we have on the second floor. One of the other, I guess, most popular prior to COVID, one of the most popular areas that folks were interested in were the prison and jail outreach. And I personally participated in that quite a bit. We would go to the county jail and you get a chance to see firsthand some of the students that's in custody and that's working toward transitioning from custody and acquiring the necessary units to transfer to San Francisco State University. That has been one of the pretty popular areas of interest, but we're asking our interns, when you're considering Project Rebound, that you're flexible and you're willing to work in any area that we may be short-staffed or just need a hand so that you can get some exposure to the Project Rebound as a whole versus just certain areas of interest. So I'll go here. Yeah.
Right, and of course, we could talk all day long about our program and the opportunities. So right now, again, we are not hiring. All positions are filled at Project Rebound, so we don't have a position open to hire, but you should keep an eye out. But what we do is internships for undergrad and graduate. And so if you're interested in going into social work or counseling, you could also consider us as an internship opportunity. Now, we prefer internships to be in person. So since fall is still somewhat transitional and we are not sure how much of the internship could be face-to-face, we're kind of like sitting and waiting. So I think most of our internship positions will probably be open for spring rather than fall. But again, we have to wait and see and do as we go. But in case you are interested, the way you could let us know is email us. The address is on the slide that you're interested. If we do host an open house, you would then receive an invitation. We talk a little bit more about the expectations as far as hours and roles. If you're interested after the open house, that is when you turn in an application and a cover letter. And then we will select, about 5 interns. So our ratio is 1 staff member, 1 intern, because we want to make sure it's a meaningful experience for you while you're with us.
Well, thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Director and Doris, for presenting and the information. And whether or not an agency has open positions, it's always a good opportunity to share the information, and every agency is always recruiting. Whether or not they're hiring may be another issue, but everyone's always recruiting. And thank you so much for presenting. And our next presenter will be, and you can remember to check back in at 11 o'clock for the breakout rooms where Director Turner and Doris will be around to answer questions and talk about the Project Rebound offerings. And so now we're going to hear from our San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. And I want this job. This person is the Director of People. Wow. And it is Derek Kim. Welcome, Derek Kim.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, Jim, you just gave me a promotion. I'm the Deputy Director of People. So I don't know if you still want my job. It sounds like you want my supervisor's job. But
because you're the director. Thanks for being here.
No problem. I'm happy to be here. Gina, is it okay if you can go ahead and run the presentation for me as well? Just for a smoother transition.
All right. In a moment, I will get it up here for you. Absolutely.
And the PUC, of course, covers a lot of ground and water in San Francisco. And they're always up front and center in the Department of Emergency Management. Whenever we have a city issue, they're part of our coordinating team for disaster management or emergency management. And Derek's going to tell us a little bit more about all the things that the PUC does in San Francisco.
Yes, he will. Go on.
Yeah, I just want to first thank San Francisco State University and the Criminal Justice Department for inviting me to and SFPUC for this virtual event. I think one of the things that many residents may not realize is that they normally won't associate utilities with their city government, because that's usually not the case. San Francisco, the city and county of San Francisco is pretty unique in that we have a Public Utilities Commission that's also a city department. It's a department within the city and county of San Francisco, similar to SFMTA, that's going to be presenting a little bit later, but other departments that you normally don't associate with city government, like the airport, the port, those kind of services that you normally don't associate with being city department. But here in the city and county of San Francisco, that's not the case. And so there's actually a really amazing opportunity for folks, because it's just really, when you apply for any one of us, just like my background says, you're applying to all these other city and county departments. Should I do it, Gina, if you're unable to?
I actually have it. It's just on a wide screen and I'm trying to get it. It's open. I'm just trying to get the screen from going, from being a full screen. So give me a second.
No problem.
So it's not allowing me to take it off a full screen so that I can share. But I'd be happy to, if you have it, that's fine. But I can try to get it going for you. But like I said, I can get it open, but the screen is not allowing me to minimize the screen so that I can share it with yeah.
Well, then I will go ahead and I'll go ahead and share.
Okay.
And let me go ahead and do that. Looks like I'll go to my screen too. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Great, looks good.
Beautiful, thank you.
So like I said, we're pretty unique as a city and county department, but we like to think of ourselves as a dedicated team of basically your neighbors who support you with very essential services like clean drinking water, wastewater management, and our green hydro and solar electric power, which not only powers our municipal buildings, all our city buildings, but also street lamps and street lights, as well as SFMTA's electric trolleys, trolley buses, trains, and even the cable car. They all run on our green hydropower. We're an award-winning, industry-leading organization committed to our customers, community, and the environment. And we do this by providing excellent service, stewardship of both community and the environment with the mindset of continuous improvement and innovation. And I also want to say that last month, we just launched our new website, sfpuc.org. Previously, it was SF Water, but as you know, from what I just said, we offer other utilities aside from just straight water. So we did finally get a chance to change and update our website to www.sfpuc.org, and I invite everyone to go and check that out. Let me go to the second page. And before I talk about jobs and opportunities, I want to briefly talk about this, our agency's commitment to diversity, equal opportunity, and workplace safety. As an employer of nearly 2,300 with presence in 7 different California counties, we're absolutely committed to diversity and belonging, as well as equal opportunity and workplace safety. In July of 2020, our commissioners passed a resolution condemning systemic racism and called for the agency to take action to promote racial justice. We recently launched a racial equity library for our employees to provide resources to start or continue their education journey on racial equity, as well as implementation of the Racial Equity Action Plan in collaboration with the city's Office of Racial Equity. So we're really proud of that, and definitely in attending these events like this is absolutely part of our overall racial equity plan. Excuse me. And in regards to careers at SFPUC, like I said, we have around 2,300 employees that spread out over 230 different job classes. The list of job classes that you see is just a small sampling of job classes that we have at the agency. While our LEED Platinum Standard headquarters is located just a block away from City Hall, we have more than a dozen other locations where our employees work, including facilities at San Francisco, Alameda, San Mateo counties, and even at Tuolumne County, which is near Yosemite. We hire year-round for permanent, temporary, as well as seasonal positions. We average, on an average year, we average between 450 to 500 hires a year. But of course, beginning with last March, the pandemic has really impacted our ability to hire. However, this is actually really good news for job seekers, because as we slowly and cautiously return to normal, we're looking to increase our hires to make up for that bottleneck and slowdown that we experienced since last March. I can safely say that our goal is to increase our hires well above our average, probably for the next 2 years. I mean, that is with, barring, please, fingers crossed, no more disasters and pandemic, but that is our plan. We're probably, for the next 12 months, we're looking to hire over 500 employees, like I said, in those 230 different job classifications. And we also have other opportunities besides for perhaps a full-time career. Earlier, I mentioned that SFPUC has a commitment and stewardship to our local communities. And one way we do this is through our many internships, apprenticeships, and youth employment opportunities. 3 programs I'll quickly highlight is, number one is the Project Pool program, a program that was actually started at SFPUC and now is spread out and available to all city and county departments. It's a summer program for high school and early college students. So usually freshmen or sophomores in college, they gain not only valuable experience working directly at departments, so not just PUC, but many other departments, but they also do projects as a cohort. So it's a really awesome program. We see quite often we'll see high school students who participate in Project Pool come back to us again when they're freshmen and sophomores in college as well. The SFPUC also year-round recruit for both undergrads as well as graduate students for our public service aid jobs to serve as both assistant and associates to our professionals. Matter of fact, if you go to the job board now, you'll see those job postings, and therefore all of our locations and all our enterprises. We also actively participate in various apprenticeship programs that are in the city, such as for gardeners, plumbers, machinists, and we're actually in talk with labor unions and the city's human resource department to launch additional apprenticeship programs. So we're actively and committed to increasing our pipeline for our full-time careers through internship, apprenticeships, and youth employment to engage with the students to realize that, hey, public service is not only a purposeful job, but it is a job that starts not just later on in your career. It's something that when you're a student, you could already be thinking about as not only a employer of choice, but a career of choice. And lastly, what I want to talk to everyone about is that I know I mentioned earlier that we're a city and county department, and it's absolutely true that when you join SFPUC, when you apply to SFPUC, you're also applying and working for the city and county of San Francisco. I only have some logos of some of the departments, but there are many other departments that are that's not represented here, but the opportunity opens up from a 2,300 staff company to I believe the city and county last time I checked was over 35,000. So the opportunities are there. It'll open up once you start working for us. And one of the first ways you could start your journey is to actually see that as a small, short URL is to join the college talent community, where you'll find out more information about what it takes to become not only a public servant, but what it's like to apply and all the other opportunities that are available. And what I'll do also is that I will copy and post the link in the chats after my presentation is over. And I also want to talk a little bit about the Project Rebound. I just love that presentation. And one of the things that I want to let people know is that when you work for the city and county of San Francisco, we're very proud of our Ban the Box program. We do not ask for conviction history at the time of application. Conviction history is reviewed by our confidential HR staff, and only if you are, and they only review to determine whether the conviction history has a direct nexus for the job. And, hiring managers won't even find out. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity at a career. So thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting some of you in the group session.
Thank you so much, Deputy People Officer Derek Kim. Great presentation. I love that last slide with all the city agencies that you represent. And it really is a city family with all the presenters that we're hearing from today. And next up, we have Stand for Families Free of Violence. And to tell you more about that and give you some opportunity information is our own Catherine Carr and Janet. Thank you for being here today, Catherine.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. My name is Catherine. I've been a volunteer for Stand for 2 years now. It's a process to go, but we're in Contra Costa County. We're based there. There usually is a version of us in each county, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of information on STAND. So it's Stand for Families Free of Violence. Gretchen is the training and volunteer manager, and she's actually the direct line for anybody who's interested in volunteering. So first, I'm going to start with some statistics. The reality is that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience relationship violence. 1 in 5 teens, and that's a kind of a big deal. I don't think that people understand how big it is in the teen society that they'll experience teen dating violence. And so, you know, we have 5 million children in the US living in homes where violence occurs. So really the issue touches all of us. And, you know, we just need to really be aware that it's pretty prevalent. The definition of family violence is that it's a learned range of behaviors used in a pattern over time. And it establishes power and control. The thing I love about this definition is that all learned behaviors can be unlearned, right? So it's always an opportunity. And so I love that it starts with this is a learned range of behaviors, and you know, we can always work to unlearn it. So our mission statement is that Stand for Families Free of Violence is a catalyst for breaking the multi-generational cycle of violence, promoting safe and strong relationships, and rebuilding lives. So there's a lot of different ways that we do this. We have a lot of different you know, sections of STAND. And we're the only comprehensive family violence reduction agency in Contra Costa County. We have over 10,000 clients annually. And of course, because of the pandemic, that number increased. We had a lot of challenges this year trying to serve all of the needs of all of our clients. We start with prevention. You know, how do we change the future of our clients? We try and intervene when lives are at risk. And then we do a treatment program of rebuilding families. So I'm going to let Janet talk a little bit about how we do those 3 things, the prevention.
Yeah, so I'm going to go over we have many different programs within STAND. So for the prevention piece, there is the YES program, where we actually go into schools and facilitate workshops for students to educate them about healthy relationships, and, you know, create groups for students to kind of educate their peers. So that's one really big program within STAND. There's the Speakers Bureau program, which goes out into the community. Well, not so much out into the community anymore, but now virtually presenting to community, educating people about STAND to prevent the issue from occurring. And then many volunteer services. And if you work with STAND, you will most definitely be interacting with volunteers, as the agency is kind of made up of half volunteer. So right now there's 50 employees, 50 volunteer. So kind of you'll be working closely with the volunteers if you decide to apply for a job with STAND.
And you can see in that picture some of the volunteer opportunities are things like painting, helping with the shelter, getting things up and running, working with the kids in shelter, that kind of thing.
Thank you. And then there's intervention, so saving lives. So we have a 24/7 hour crisis line, a phone line on which you'll be trained how to talk to individuals in crisis, and also, just give information and connect them with other resources as well. So, there's a kind of a database where you'll have to enter information. And yeah, there's lots of training involved. So, not only will you be on the crisis line, interacting with folk, you'll kind of receive a lot of information. That's kind of why we went over the stats and talked about the definition of violence at the beginning of this presentation. Is, really understanding this issue and how it works is a big part of working at this agency. So we have an emergency shelter for individuals who, are in intimate partner, experiencing intimate partner violence. And for them, we we serve people of all backgrounds, all gender identities, all sexual orientations, and we take in, people and their children as well. So kind of working with the families, managing their needs, helping kind of organize the shelter so that they have everything that they need, their food, clothing, all of that. So you'll kind of be working very much hands-on with individuals kind of in crisis situations and their families. And then there's transitional housing as well for individuals. So kind of like apartments where they can live long-term until they figure something else out. We have domestic violence support groups. So you can have the opportunity to facilitate groups where you're working with people who have survived this and helping them kind of understand what domestic violence is and how to have healthy relationships in the future. We also have restraining order clinics where you'll be helping people kind of managing how to receive restraining orders, which can be, quite a lengthy and intense process.
And we also do have a 52-week batterers program as well that we run. So both sides, we're trying to rebuild the family from both sides.
Yeah, and then we also have, groups for children. We serve over 200 children every year. So any child affected by domestic violence is eligible for this program. We have parenting groups to help support parents. And yeah, as Catherine said, we have the nonviolence program. So really we're trying to help everyone affected by this issue in every way that we can. Did you want to add anything, Catherine?
Oh, that's great.
Before we end? Yeah, so these are the links. You can call the number to inquire about jobs or go to our website, standffov.org/jobs. And yeah, we look forward to speaking with you in the breakout room later on.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Janet. Great information there. I've got students writing about domestic violence, and I'm sure they'd really appreciate some of your resources. Thanks again. And to our presenters, if you've presented already, if you could just type in the chat a link to your websites, that would be awesome for the students to be able to grab off the screen. And next up, we have our own Dr. Susanna Jones, Professor, Director of Student Success, and a big reason behind the success of our students. And welcome, Dr. Jones. Let's hear from you.
Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you. In spite of, the fact that we have to do this remotely. I first want to just say thank you to Gina and to Jim for including me in this conversation. I'm just so happy to be here. Like Jim, I want to work with Derek. I want to work with Catherine and Janet. I want to work with Project Rebound. I want to be a part of all of this. So this is just so exciting to see. And hi, Jason. It's so exciting to see and hear all of the amazing work that goes on in the community and how important it is for San Francisco State to be so intimately connected to the community. So this is, I just commend CJS for doing this. So my name is Susanna Jones, and I came 5 years ago to San Francisco State from New York City because I was hired as the director of the School of Social Work at San Francisco State, and did that for 2 years, and have been in social work education for 25 years, actually a little bit more than that. And then the dean invited me to move from the director of social work into the dean's office. And I started a job as the assistant dean for student success in the College of Health and Social Science. So I always tell people around campus that I feel like the luckiest person on campus because I have the phrase student success in my title. So every day I get to actually engage in really quality, good, sound social work practice by thinking about what student success means for all of our students. I focus mostly at the undergraduate level. The second favorite part of my job is that in the college we have 14 undergraduate majors and 11 graduate programs. And I feel like my colleagues in all of these programs are some of the most amazing people I've ever met. Gina and Jim being two of them. I feel very fortunate to work with programs that are as strong as CJS, So I'm here to talk to you today about social work. And I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, and I unfortunately have to leave at 11 for another meeting. But I want to ask a question before I get started. I see a lot of cameras off, which is fine. But if the students in the room could just give me some kind of thumbs up or reaction, I want to see how many of you are students so that I get a sense. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Awesome. So how many of you, your thumbs are going to disappear in just a hot minute. How many of you are interested in thinking about social work? Right, all of you, or most of you, I'm assuming all or most are CJS majors. You have some of the best, amazing rock star faculty. And oftentimes it's very common for students. Great, thank you, David. Thank you, everybody, for giving me thumbs up and communicating non-verbally. Many students in sociology and criminal justice studies and many of our undergraduate programs are interested in thinking about an MSW and what does that mean and how does that align with my undergraduate education in criminal justice studies. And I'm here to say there are a million ways that criminal justice studies aligns with good social work practice. So what I'd like to do and what I'm starting to do more and more of is attend classes in these disciplines like sociology, like psychology, like criminal justice studies, find the appropriate courses in your curriculum and come in and do a presentation. You have Dr. Karina Gallo, who is one of the faculty in criminal justice studies, who like myself has an MSW degree and then got a PhD in social work or social welfare. So you have one of your own. We have a social worker in criminal justice studies that just highlights some of the ways that the social work perspective aligns with and matches really well with criminal justice studies. So what I'd like to do is put my name in the chat. I'll finish talking before I do this. I'll put my name and my email address in the chat. I'm going to put some additional resources for you to start exploring and looking at social work. But what I'd like to do, should I just give my email, Gina and Jim, instead of opening it up for a question?
Sure, but you might get 41 emails today.
That's okay. Well, I'm happy to respond to 42 emails.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with doing. And we're going to post this online. Students will have plenty of opportunities to reach out to the various presenters today. So whatever you're comfortable with, Susanna, you can put it in the chat or we're going to send a follow-up to the students with the contact information and they'll have access to the video. So whatever you like to do is fine.
Okay, maybe I'll just spend one more minute talking a little bit about if you're interested in social work and you're going to graduate with a CJS degree, what the next steps will look like. I would recommend that there's never any time too soon to start engaging in research. So again, I'll put in the chat some places to start exploring and researching what is social work. What's the focus of social work? How does my degree complement social work? And how do I learn about MSW programs around the country? The master's degree in social work is what we call the terminal degree, which is the final degree that one needs in order to practice social work in all of the 50 states. So you would start engaging in research. You would connect with me, Dr. Gallo, a team of faculty in the School of Social Work to help you think about how to best position yourself to find those right schools and the best match for you. Up and down the state, we have 23 CSU schools. 17 of them have MSW programs, and 2 of the UCs have MSW programs, along with a host of private schools. There are thousands of social work programs around the country, a handful of which focus on forensic social work, or the more common phrase is criminal justice, practice of social work in the criminal justice system, whether it be in child protective services or in probation or working in the courts. There's a variety of ways in which the criminal justice system employs MSWs. So you'd really want to start to think about what schools are out there. What's the best match for me? San Francisco State has both an undergraduate and a graduate social work program, but just in our geographic region, East Bay, CSU East Bay, San Jose State, San Francisco State, Berkeley, we've got lots and lots of programs. As a state, we work together very closely up and down from the southern region all the way to the northern tip of the state. We work together. So certainly, even though I'm at San Francisco State, I can share information about other programs in California. And again, I'm sorry that I can't be present for a breakout room, but I'm just I work at San Francisco State. I'm available to students every day, all day. So I look forward to hearing from you all.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Jones. And of course, criminal justice, a lot of criminal justice is social work, right? And a lot of students don't really want to get into police work per se, but counseling of accused juvenile or adult offenders and rehabilitation programs and anti-recidivism programs. So social work certainly plays a large part in our criminal justice system. And thanks for being here and presenting. Appreciate it. All right. And next up, you're going to hear from our friends at the MTA, the Municipal Transportation Group, and that is Rashid Hurd, going to talk about our opportunities at the SFMTA. Welcome, Rashid.
Hello, how are you doing?
Great.
So I was sitting here and I just want to say good morning and thank you for having me. I love what I heard Susanna, I hope I said your name correctly, said. It's always great to hear that level of enthusiasm from someone inside of an institution. So, if you're lucky enough to have somebody that moves like that, then, they'll probably help you through your career. I also was listening to Project Rebound and I was, to be honest with you, very impressed. I worked when I started in the city on part of the Ban the Box program, if you will, at the Department of Human Resources. And I work with organizations then, such as All of Us or None and Free at Last. So I'm sure you're quite familiar with those particular groups and the things of the like. So I'm very impressed with the work being done there because, of course, access is the most important conversation and opportunity. So as a part of, I guess, my non-presentation, if you will, because I was feeling very bad. And then when Susanna got on there, says, I don't have a presentation. I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better. So I was over here, like, to be honest with you, cutting pictures and putting stuff together. But I'm like moving really quickly because I was like, I don't want to be like half in it, right? But MTA is an organization that started back in about 1912, if you will, and my eyes are watering or burning for some reason. And as an organization, we started, of course, as a transit organization. We're a 6,000 plus person strong organization with, it's not thousands of jobs probably, but I like to say that because one of the things I often say about MTA is the universe here is so big. When people ask the question, what is it that MTA has as far as employment? I often say, probably just about all the jobs except for a pilot. And then I started saying to myself, wow, hold on. We have people that operate our trains and therefore they're piloting something. So we might almost have a pilot as well. When I think about employment opportunities and the relationship with the Criminal Justice Department, one of the things that I shared with Gina and Jim was that I'd probably do a disservice attempting to shoehorn what work might be most appropriate for you in the sort of travels that you have with regards to your studies. I myself, as an example, matriculated through Morehouse College. I was a political science major, had all the ideas about going to law school and I didn't, right? And so what do? And so you pivot and you go into the nonprofit, and I ran a nonprofit, served as director of operations for many years. And I end up in the city and county of San Francisco, where I started at Department of Human Resources. I always think it's important to sort of tell a journey story as a part of connecting people with regards to what they're doing as far as their education and maybe the path. I often joke that, the job you want may not be the job that you need, and the job that you need may not be the job that you want, depending on where you're trying to get to. So it may not necessarily always be like right in front of you that I'm going to go into this field and this is going to be what I do. And if you're lucky enough to do that, then that's a blessing for sure. But sometimes many of us have this sort of journey that has this sort of, go up and move to the right and go down a little bit and back up again and go back around. And there are a number of opportunities that I just want to, I guess, implore you to consider. As a matriculating undergraduate or graduate person, depending on the field, many of our positions, as Derek stated a little bit earlier, require an undergraduate education and or years of experience. So I try not to be so specific about saying this is the job that you probably want to be performed, because oftentimes it's very difficult to see it. And so what I share, of course, is what's interesting to me, and what I think is important is to share that as a candidate or as a matriculating student, we often say, at least me and Margot Reed, who runs our apprenticeship, internship and on-the-job training program, we often say, look, identify the job you're interested in and apply. The city is, I won't say necessarily a very forgiving application process because it's difficult and long, but having an undergraduate education and years of experience can give you entree into a number of different roles and positions, with things such as junior analyst, admin analyst, senior analysts, principal analysts, and those can be anything from minor to complex analysis, which many of you are likely doing as a part of your educational process. Of course, pair that with possibly working another job while you're matriculating through school and a number of different things that may go along with that. And you might meet the MQs for a number of jobs. I don't want to do a disservice with trying to be very specific about classifications and the like, because I think it's important not to pigeonhole any particular person. I'm going to share my screen very quickly. I'll try this. But I just want to share that we are a diverse organization. And as my representation on the workforce development team, I'm the manager of workforce development. I generally don't really use titles that much. I'm very interested in making sure that opportunities for students of color and the like, and everyone, are provided to people. As an organization that probably employs somewhere in the area of 2,500 plus operators, we are one of the more diverse departments from the standpoint of people. And then, of course, as you get into the various entities, I'll just share a quick slide. Let's see if I can get to it. There it is. I don't know if you can see this very well. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. It's a little blurry, but this is the side. These is really our departments. So we have about 8 to 9 departments in a number of different areas, everything from transit to streets to system safety to taxi and accessible service, human resources department, which I'm in, finance and technology, communications and marketing, government affairs, and central subway. The universe is large. And so depending on what you're interested in, because of course, there are a number of us that go to college to get an education because that's a part of our parents' promise as well. But we may be interested in being a mechanic. We may actually love doing something else as a part of it. And education was the first step in it. So I also want to just put up in front of you that our apprenticeship programs are very interesting as well, even if you have sort of a transitional mind. I'll never forget that I met a young man who went to UC Santa Clara. He was getting an HR degree, but he also was a mechanic for Ford at that time. It was a very kind of a diverse mind. And he just said, look, I promised my parents that I was going to go to college, but I've been working at Ford, but I'm also interested in human resources. It's a very diverse pathway, especially for us as people of color. And I'm always interested in saying, like, look, you know, whatever it is that you're looking to do, you may have started as a criminal justice major, but you're more interested in something else. There is a doorway. And I'm just here to sort of invite you to take a look at SFMTA as an opportunity. I'm here also to say that we are, as Derek said a little bit earlier, because I think he said it very well, which is, and I hope this PowerPoint looks crazy, but it's okay. I worked through it. This is the MTA way. We survive and we thrive. There are so many city departments that what I often tell people is when you apply to a civil service position in one area, you may very well be applying to a civil service position in 50 different departments. That opportunity is there. The biggest thing that I often say, and I'll probably be closing very quickly, is the process to get employed in the city sometimes can be a little mind-numbing and stressful for an applicant. And I say that for this reason. As a person of color who has applied to many different jobs, sometimes as a part of the process of life, getting through the door can seem daunting and seem challenging. and can seem sometimes off-putting. And the biggest thing that I often say is that apply to what you're interested in, seek out the opportunities that you see that you think that you connect with, and stay the course. City employment is a very interesting process because oftentimes it's the time that's required to do the application, and then you have to sit and wait. And then you might get another email from somebody asking you for some other information. And the people who often make it through are the ones who are timely and responsive. And so when people say, well, how did you get a job in the city? Did you know somebody? Well, I wish I did, but I didn't. I was lucky at the time, and I just stayed the course. So that's my invitation to you. I look forward to speaking with you for a short period of time in the breakout room. Again, my goal here is to just open the door of opportunity at SFMTA or in city employment. And there are a number of different pathways and pipelines that you can get through the door potentially. Sometimes the first employment, not to be condescending or anything, may not fit your financial goals immediately, but experience as a pathway is a very important piece. And I also just want to say, as a little aside, as a non-MTA statement, when I listen to organizations such as Project Rebound and I listen to nonprofits talk about employment opportunities, it just reminds me that my first employment opportunity was with a nonprofit. And it's also one of the places that oftentimes, if you're looking for an opportunity where the bar may seem a little bit higher for you, the nonprofit is a great start point because it's like a small law firm. The small law firm gives you the opportunity to do the whole case, and the large law firm only gives you a nugget. And nonprofits very much give you the opportunity to do 1,000 different things if you don't necessarily see that you might meet the MQ for a position in the city that you're targeting. So I just always maintain, have a diverse attitude about how you go about the employment opportunities that you're seeking, and I'm sure you'll be successful. Thank you for asking me to be here, Gina and Jim. And I look forward to the few moments that I have with the people, I guess, at around 11.
Thank you, Rashid. That's great. Great to hearing your story and listening about the opportunities at the MTA. And we are going to talk with our last presenter, but I also want to acknowledge that we have Mervyn Reyes and Sergeant Vera Cruz from our own San Francisco State PD here, and I think they'll be around for breakout rooms afterwards, but they won't be presenting today, but we're always recruiting, right? So we're gonna hear from Captain Sanford from our own San Francisco Sheriff's Office and listen to his presentation and the opportunities at the San Francisco Sheriff's Department. Welcome, Captain Sanford.
Hello, thank you for having me. All these great presentations going on. I don't know how I'm going to do any of them any justice, but I'm going to try my best. I'm not the normal person that does the presentations or the recruiting. Our recruitment deputy actually got deployed today. We have emergency, obviously, in the city. So he's out working that. I like a lot. As you can see from the presentation, there is a lot of connectivity in the city and county of San Francisco because we are one huge family. My mother worked for SFMTA as a minibus driver. My wife actually works for HSA, Human Services Agency, as a social worker. And in the background, as you can see my background, that is actually the summer Eco Jobs program where high school students come out to the farm that we have at San Bruno, and they work an actual paid program with a joint collaboration we have with the SFPUC and San Francisco Conservation Corps. So we're all connected in some kind of way in the city. And speaking of things like job opportunities, which is what we're all here for, most people think that most of the time that when we get on, we're going to recruit for deputy sheriffs, which is the bulk of our positions that are open. However, that is not the only position that we have because it's not just a bunch of deputies running around doing a lot of things. Deputy can't pay deputies. So we have payroll. So we have payroll clerks. We have actually our Central Warrants Bureau, senior legal processing clerk positions. We have our program coordinator position, which also, if you would, speaking of Rashid, when we had our meeting before, when we talked about crossover, in meeting minimum qualifications, that also requires a degree and a certain level of experience. So having a social work degree or having some kind of degree that deals with case management or programs, things like that would be very beneficial in applying for our program coordinator position. So we have several different positions, which I'll talk about in the breakout rooms, but I just want to give you guys a gist that we are hiring. And I know a lot of people, not to throw shade at anybody, but it is a recruitment plus for us that no matter what happens, our job is emergency response. So pandemics, earthquakes, fires, everything. We don't stop working. We don't stop hiring. We always have opportunity here at the San Francisco Sheriff's Office. I currently have probably 90 plus deputy sheriff positions available. We will be reopening our sheriff's cadet position pretty soon. And those are the people that provide either administrative support or security at several places like San Francisco General Hospital or some of the clinics or 850 Bryant, City Hall. And again, we are looking at the list for our program coordinators. But that list will probably be expiring soon. So we'll be looking again for people to be applying for that. So we have fingerprint technicians, stationary engineers, several positions that we will be having available. So if you know anybody who's actually interested in those positions, also in some of our summer youth programs like the Eco Jobs, then you can check it out on our website. I will put it in the chat. And again, if anybody has any questions, I will address a lot more in the breakout rooms. So thank you again for having me. Just in the interest of time, that's why I'm trying to be really quick, because I know 11 o'clock is a checkpoint. So, but I appreciate everybody's for you guys giving me the opportunity to speak here.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed having you. And Jim is going to introduce our actually very last speaker, Jim.
Well, thanks, Captain Sanford. Captain Sanford, great hearing from you. And I hope after the breakout that you also mentioned some of those details regarding the fingerprint technicians. You had something really important to say on our last call about the programs at the other colleges and what the students really need as a background for that job. Appreciate your being here with us today. And yes, so another one of our own faculty members, Dan McAleer, wears two hats. Well, it looks like he's not wearing a hat at all today. He's wearing a headset.
No hair either.
Get one of the hats. So Dan McAleer is a professor here at San Francisco State, and he is also a juvenile justice advocate and hero. And we're going to hear from him next. And the opportunities for internships and positions at the CJ, Dan?
Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice, Jim. Thank you. So first of all, thank you for the invite. I'm kind of harried today because there's a lot of things happening. The center, I'll give you a brief introduction on the Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice for those of you who have not taken my class before. The Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice is a nonprofit agency. We were founded in San Francisco back in 1986. And we were originally founded by Dr. Jerome Miller, who was the architect of the closing of the Massachusetts training schools back about 50 years ago. The mission of CJCJ is to reduce society's use of incarceration as a solution to social problems. And so we engage in various efforts in criminal justice and juvenile justice reform. We work on the adult side as well. So it's not just juvenile work, but we are, as I said, we're a nonprofit, and we pursue our mission really in three different ways. We do direct services for people, but our direct services are focused on people who are slated to be committed to either state prison, a youth correctional facility, or some other in custody program. The idea is to keep people out of institutions and instead provide a range of services, preferably at the community level, that will address their individual needs and also ultimately keep them out of the criminal justice system for the long term. So, and sometimes the criminal justice system is not always very good at that. And so we're constantly pushing for better services, more more of a variety, a continuum of options at the community level. So we work with a lot of different community-based agencies, including my friends at Project Rebound, Jason and George, and a variety of other agencies. So we do the direct services. We also we do a lot of policy advocacy. And sometimes we're best known for our policy advocacy. And right now we are very much engaged in two major initiatives. The closing of the state youth correction system, which used to be called the California Youth Authority and the now called the Division of Juvenile Justice. A year ago, Governor Newsom made a decision that California, after 150 years of running state correctional facilities, youth prisons, was going to get out of the business. And we have been pursuing this as a policy goal for over 30 years, for as long as I was one of the founders of the organization back in 1986. And so in a year ago, that goal was somewhat achieved. We're still in the process of doing. We have a long way to go. But essentially, what's going to happen is the state is going to close its youth correctional facilities and shift the funds and resources back into the communities, which is going to have a major impact on the types of, certainly for those of you who are looking for careers in criminal justice, this is going to create a lot of new opportunities. As part of this, we're also engaged in redirecting state funds that in the past have gone to fund law enforcement and correctional services at the local level. And there's a bill right now in front of the Senate that CJCJ is sponsoring. It's Senate Bill 493. And what it does, it redirects about $200 million in earmarked monies that are currently earmarked. In other words, specifically designated for certain criminal justice purposes. Most of the money in the state's 58 counties is absorbed by some of the traditional bureaucracies within the criminal justice system, law enforcement and probation and county jails. What we're trying to do is get redirect those funds towards community-based agencies in order to provide a range of services in the communities for people who have been involved in the criminal justice system, and expand that range of services. So it's not just law enforcement, it's a reinvestment in communities. We look at it as a reinvestment in communities. And as I said, that if it passes, and it went out and it passed out of committee yesterday, it'll inject about $200 million into community resources statewide. That's in addition to the closure of the state's youth correction system. In 2 years, there's going to be another $200 million that will also be reinvested in additional community resources. And so if you're looking for work in the criminal justice system and the juvenile justice system, I strongly urge you to look at the expansion of community resources, and particularly in the nonprofit sector in your local communities, because that's going to be the area of growth in the next few years. And if things go as we hope, and as an agency, these are the things that we've been pushing for, and we hope to improve the functioning of the criminal justice system, both the juvenile and the adult, through these efforts. So those are some of the policy work that we're engaged in. I'm involved in the closure of the juvenile hall here in San Francisco, and again, it's the same thing, taking our resources out of the institutions of confinement and reinvesting it into resources in the community, build up families, build up neighborhoods, and build up communities. So as a Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice, as a local nonprofit, This is the kind of stuff we do. And I want to say that we have about 40 employees. About a third of them are graduates of this program. And it's not that I go out and recruit in my classrooms. San Francisco State is the feeder to the labor force in San Francisco. And many of you are, as you leave San Francisco State and you go into the labor force, and as I've often tell my students, many of you are going to be future leaders. It may be hard to imagine right now, but you will be supervisors, managers, and executives. And there's opportunities out there. And I do encourage you, if you are looking in the criminal justice, to work in the criminal justice field, and you want to work outside of the traditional, kind of bureaucratic structures, police, probation, not that there's anything wrong with that, but police, probation, and corrections, I strongly urge you to look at the nonprofit sector. It's the area, it's the fifth largest sector of the California economy, and it's the fastest growing sector in the criminal justice field right now. That's where the jobs are going to be. And as I said, if some of this reinvestment happens at the state level, there's going to be a lot of opportunity in the near future. So
thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
We're going to get into our breakout rooms in a second. If you could just type in the bill in the chat. Some people are interested in that, the upcoming bill. And thank you to all of our presenters today. Thanks for being here. And I don't know, Dan, I would disagree with you. I see some great leadership on the board right now. They are field ready. I've seen some great students that are attending here today and ready to step into those leadership roles. Like the 49ers new quarterback. We'll see in about 2 weeks. Sorry, that was editorial. Great event, and we're going to go into breakout rooms. We're going to give students the opportunities to go in. They will be labeled with the speakers that you've heard and their agencies. If you want to get in, just join the room. If you want to get out and you're having trouble, raise your hand or send something in the chat room, and Gina and I will accommodate your move to another room. So appreciate everyone who could stay for the remaining chat rooms. And a reminder to the students, so you've heard of paid positions, you've heard of some volunteer positions and internships, and they all have meaning for you, whether it's to give you a glimpse of these different agencies, departments, the work. But also, if you're an undergrad still, there's credit available for CJ 680 for your final project. There's opportunities for CJ 699 independent study by pre-arrangement with the professors. And any of these would be eligible for that. And they're good resume builders besides. So stick with us, join a breakout room. Gina, are you ready to open?
I am ready. I'm opening it up now. Join the breakout rooms are here. So here we go. Thank you all for being here.
Chat. I've added the SFGOV Job Apps iCloud application port. If you want to open that up on your browser and see which city agencies are offering jobs and how to apply, they're all right there. The nonprofits are by their own websites, but for the city agencies, the jobapps.icloud portal is open as well.
Okay. We're here, so please join the breakout room if you're interested. Thank you.
Gina, I'm not sure how we get into the breakout room.
So you should see the list of breakout rooms, and on the far right, it should say join.
Yes. You see the list? I've assigned them with everyone's, the agencies or nonprofit names. Let's see.
if you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see reactions and breakout rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And if you,
I don't have that option.
You don't have.
I don't have that breakout room.
Oh, okay. You know what?
option
Let
on my
me
screen.
put you in. Let me put you in one then. Hold on a second. My apologies.
Is it just me? I'm sorry.
No, I don't know. That's just very
Yeah,
strange. Let me just because usually when it opens up, you can just join.
I don't have that option either.
Okay, so I will put you in. Hold on a second. Give me a second. More than a second. Let me see.
Joining now. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, Derek, I'm going to take care of you and put you here with, and let's see, Captain. Let's see. Yeah, I don't, yeah, it's weird because there should be a breakout room thing where you can just open up and then just join. So let's just see. All right, how about we do this for students? Can you give me, if you, all right, let's see. Oh, that's very strange. All right, my apologies. It should be right at the bottom where it says breakout rooms in progress, and then you should be able to just join anyone. But why don't you just let me know in the chat which rooms you want to join, and I'll get you in there. Okay.
Okay, I just want to join the
Apologies.
stand room.
Okay, so who am I speaking? Okay, Mezen. Okay, oh, here we go. It's weird. We just did a test on it the other day and it worked. Okay, Elizabeth, Project Rebound. Project Rebound.
So maybe Gina, if we ask, if we just go down the list and say,
I'm doing it. I'm going through everything.
No, but I mean, raise your hand or show a thumbs up if you would like to go to stand, and then we can move those individuals, and then rebound, and then Center for Criminal Justice, Sheriff's Department.
All right. So people are telling me in the chat, so that's where I'm going from here.
Great.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat.
Okay,
to
great.
do that. So give me a second. Yeah, I don't know. Worked earlier. I don't know what's going on. So thanks for your patience. And okay, budget rebound. Would you admit that person for me, please? Jim, this person in the breakout room. Okay.
And Professor Dudley, correct me if I'm wrong. Does Mervin and I have our own breakout room, or
you do? You're.
Oh, okay. I will get him on. I thought he wasn't presenting.
It's at the bottom. CSU, SFSU.
All right, I will do that. Okay, let's do this.
The good information that they needed in the breakout rooms. If you take a look at the chat side of the board, open up your chat, and you can see a lot of links from the presenters. You could see the link to the San Francisco government job apps iCloud, where you can upload your application. You can look through all the city agencies that you saw today and others like the Department of Public Health. And you can ask for your application to be submitted, or you can put in a notify me if they're not hiring now and a job becomes available in the future. So those are all available to you. And for those of you interested in joining the 1 to 3 p.m. Presentation from 6 law enforcement agencies, you can take a look at the right side and you'll see the connect2agencies.com/SFSU2 / and you can join that link. The password is SFSU, and you'll be seeing me again because why not? And then we'll go through a list of law enforcement agencies, including the California Highway Patrol, San Francisco PD, Burbank PD in Southern California, and a couple of others. So thank you so much for joining us today and listening to our San Francisco State resources and our city agency allies and our community-based organizations like STAND that really do a great service to our community. And thanks everyone for participating. Gina, any last words?
I just want to thank everyone for showing up. It was wonderful. This is the first time we've done this. We thought we would do something like this in person before the pandemic. And so we're glad we're able to put together, you know, I think a pretty good event. So hopefully students, you got something out of it. And for the panelists, you got to meet some of our students and get to give them some good career advice and offer them some pathways and ways that they could use their degrees. Some of them are criminal justice majors, minoring other things, double majoring. So I think that everyone who presented today was able to offer something to everyone. We want to say thank you so much for being here. Maybe we'll do this again next year in person, I hope. But thank you guys. We appreciate this. Appreciate you.
Definitely an annual event. And I just posted in the chat that if you haven't already, join the Criminal Justice Student Association Facebook page. We put out listings of local law enforcement, local CBOs, and others that are looking. I think Academy of Sciences are always looking for security people. So take a gander. I'm an administrator, so if you ask to join, I'll be happy to include you as soon as you do. All right. Hope everybody has a great week.
Rebound to stand for just 5 seconds after everyone leaves, but I want to thank everyone. Thank you so much for being here and presenting. I will be in touch, and we'll have everything posted on the website for your resources, if not by this Friday, early next week. So thanks again. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye.